To see the closing of NA tonight is going to be really something special, Clay. You know how competitive these guys can get, and of course we're here for a great cause, but these players will be in it to win it. So as we head into this first game, any early predictions here? Anything you're excited to see coming into the early game, Clay?
I actually haven't gotten the chance to watch as many of these games as I wanted to, so I'm coming in with a fresh mindset of I just want to see some off-spawn engagement, some fun plays, and I want to see another pickaxe elim.
I think we all want to see some form of pickaxe elim at some point in today's games. It's going to be really, really good though. I think the big thing, of course, is like you said, the off-spawn contestation. A lot of teams probably going to be heading towards Command Cavern. You can expect to see a couple teams even towards Tilted. Of course, these guys have played a couple of games against each other's in these lobbies, and so there should be some sort of understanding between people of, okay, maybe we're going to be fighting this team here, that team there, but at the same time, it's all or nothing in these final set of games, right? So you're going to do whatever you can to make sure you come out on top.
And you can see why Chap and Degen are coming out on top. They have no one around them, Levin. They have the, I believe it is Butter Barn down there to the southwest and up to the northeast. They have that gas station POI that they can just kind of freely roam in between and get all that extra loot. So, and on top of Rocky Real's loot, they're getting 2 other spots as well. They're looking really good.
Yeah, of course, that's going to be one of the stronger POIs on the map right now, and great positioning in the zone as well. Gives you many options of where you need to go. Right now, this is going to be one of the many options we see people partake in. We've got a battle bus here on the move. Yoda having to flee on his own, not a teammate by his side, but tanks. Tanks are going to be something we see a lot of, and this is exactly what they can do. Rain absolute havoc. The battle bus looks like it's on its last legs right there. Not much HP left in it. This is something to behold. A tank rolling through, and it won't be the only one, I'll promise you that.
And it's funny because the tank as well is on its last legs. It barely is up. You see 382 HP out of that tank versus the 2,500 that it spawns with. So somebody was lighting that tank up, so they barely are able to go through. But look what's right there in the ground. It's a repair torch. They're gonna be fine. They're gonna chill.
Yeah, and it's good you mentioned repair torches, right? Because repair torches are key to how these games play out. Not much cover, right? It's not like regular build. If you do play a bunch of Fortnite yourself, you know, typically, you know, someone shoots at you from somewhere, you can plop up a wall, a stair, whatever you need to sort of just give you that extra bit of protection. You don't really have that option in no build. And so in terms of cover and protection in open spaces, number 1's going to be vehicles, number 2 going to be cow catchers. And so if you want to be able to have prolonged amounts of protection, having a repair tool to keep your vehicle in the game as long as possible is absolutely huge. And of course, these cow catchers, you just saw Jafe chuck one onto his truck as well, is going to be super useful for being able to ram, right? The attachment on the front of the car, ramming through people is going to be that much more fun with the cow catcher on it. So cow catchers and vehicles going to be a massive part, and also making sure you have a repair tool as well to keep it in the game is huge.
And look at Kurt's inventory here. We get to see something that we didn't see yesterday. The Rift to Go. It has been a while, Levin, since I have seen any Rift to Goes in competitive competition. So I am very, very intrigued on how these players are going to use it. You see it in Vert's inventory here, playing there with Cease. This could save a lot of players, and we may see a lot more stay up in this later zone.
Yeah, Rift to Go's being back, right, makes these games a lot more interesting. I expect to see them used a lot late. We see in these games, right, a lot of the time when we get to those final moments where there's only a couple teams left, things can get dicey, right? A lot of the times you'll see people making these plays like this one here, right, with where he's using the shockwave, trying to get some sort of elevation. I expect people will save them until later in the game, right, and just Rift to Go up, make sure you're high up in the sky so no one can really sort of bother with you for a couple of seconds. Give yourself a breather. Macquid and Threats, not a team that I expect will need many breathers. These guys, when it comes to build, 2 of the better players in the region, and so I'd like to say there's not much difference there when there's no build as well. They of course are sitting in that top 8 right now, but they'll want to have to retain that, and not just retain that, but try and push into the top 5.
And you know, I'm intrigued to see how many of these players know that with that repair torch, Levin, you couldn't refill the charges on it. You just have to go to one of these gas stations, and look, Threats and Macwood are going to be on top of a battle bus trying to take down these players that do have a tank on the other side. And
flipped over.
They did flip over, and unfortunately for Macwood and Threats, they're using that cannon launcher. Doesn't do as much damage to individual structures, if you will. It doesn't put out as much DPS as well. It does a lot of damage to players, which is what I think they were going for there, but they definitely could have gotten rid of that tank early if they wanted to.
Yeah, that's one of the more interesting dynamics in these lobbies, right? Everybody knows we want to have a vehicle, right? Having a vehicle equals good, simple math. But if you see somebody else with a vehicle, you know that that's good for them as well. And so what do we do about that? Well, typically you want to try and eradicate their vehicle from the game, make them obsolete in that regard, sorry. But that can cause tension, right? Because if someone's shooting at me, I ain't just gonna let them shoot at my vehicle and I ain't doing nothing about it. And I probably would say the same for you as well, Clay. So a lot of the time we can see sort of people get almost petty with each other in that sense. Oh, what, you think you can take 3 shots at my vehicle? Well, I'm gonna take 4 shots at yours. Oh, you wanna take 4 shots at mine? I'm gonna take 5 shots at yours. It can be this sort of back and forth that typically ends in just mass destruction anyway. But a lot of the time that makes it just that bit more fun for us as viewers, right?
Oh, it definitely does. And look, we got a team down below SJ in the bush just hiding out as Roller and Enpin are going to have a tank. And ooh, I like what they're doing. They're setting up on the edge of zone here, going for some fish with the tank.
That's interesting. I think floppers and fish will be a key part of these games, especially as people are more desperate to stay in them for as long as they possibly can be. Of course, we have some teams who maybe even will try and heal in the zone or out-heal the rest of the lobby in the zone with their collection of heals. And I like this from Empen and D-Roller, of course. Targeting those fishing spots. Just making the process a bit quicker. So they don't want to actually sit there and fish, but they do want to profit from that loot. So 2 tanks to their team.
Oh my God.
Lots of people will just, do anything to have 1. But these guys have the 2. And so they definitely will be a team to watch out for in these games. Jafe doesn't seem to care though. Jafe says, you know what, 2 tanks, 2 schmanks, I'm not too bothered about that. I'll sort you guys out. But he should be careful, because if he gets too close, they will have more than just a couple words to say.
You look at how players are spread out on the map so far. Trap and Degen just making their way in. Knight and Rogue Shark right in the middle of the map. As we move through, Logic is seemingly just hiding in a bush. Yep, that seems exactly what they're doing, trying to make sure that they don't get spotted because their teammate is not with them. They went down. As we move over to Out Trumped and their teammate, we see they know someone's nearby, but I don't know if they can pinpoint quite where.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because as the zone sort of closes in more and more, you have to be a tad bit more aware of your surroundings. Of course, you are sort of vulnerable from a 360-degree radius. It was very interesting, Clay, right? Seeing certain teams sort of try to play on the zone line, stay as close to the zone as possible, just have the zone on your back, because in theory, right, yeah, that eradicates, half of our angles, right? We don't have to worry about, behind us. We just have to worry about the 180 degrees in front of us. But then you just had loads of teams on the MENA region, at least, just playing in zone anyway. So you were always vulnerable from 360 degrees, it felt. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see similar today, where we just have a bunch of teams taking advantage of storm play and just being able to lurk in that zone. Or if you're Rogue Shark and Knight, who are doing incredibly well in the previous days, we're just going to take power positions like these on the hills. And you can see they've got a wealth of loot. The Mythic Burst Rifle, some shockwaves, some cow catchers, a repair tool. There was a rift to go on the ground as well. Plenty of ammo as well to just let shots off like this. And if you know Rogue Shark, you know he can hit them. And so these guys are looking to sort of build on their point tally from previous days, and they're definitely setting up to do so.
And I think This mountain is very steep. I'm about 90% sure there's only one way up it. If you can get up it and no build, I'm not sure. So for them, having that power position centered on zone 11, they're just bullying everyone. That's literally their game plan is, hey, just shoot everyone because the tank's not going to run out of ammo, right? They get that chance to do so, and we swap over and another shockwave play comes too late. Jaith is going to get knocked.
Yeah, Jaith got really uncomfortable for him. Fortunately, he was able to shockwave himself into a position that allows Kurt to pick him up and res. But these are sort of the uncomfortable conversations teammates will start having with themselves. Degen and Chap, they want it all. And this is where the Rifter goes. We'll have some fun. Degen and Chap entering the Rifter go with the truck. It shoots them way up into the sky, but they will come back down and take Jaith out for good. Kurt will escape with his life, but his teammate cannot say the same. Nice little elimination there from these two, and it probably won't be the last.
That's just amazing to see. I love the interaction between Riftigos and vehicles. It's just, it's so Fortnite, right? Like, I don't know how to put a meaning to that phrase.
I get you.
But those that know are gonna know it's Fortnite. So I love seeing it.
Now this isn't what we're accustomed to seeing in Fortnite. And this is a play that I don't think these guys would have been planning to make either. Macquid and Frets, a shockwave play that sort of sends them onto different paths. I think it is advisable that you stay as close to your teammate as possible, so they do quickly regroup. But things are already starting to get awkward. You can see in the bottom right, the mini-map, there are so many different little arrows. Those represent the different teams in their vicinity. And so it makes moving to that safe zone, that white line, very awkward potentially.
I definitely think they were trying to chug splash there, and Macquid accidentally threw down the shockwave.
Yeah.
And then both of them were like, oh God, no. And so they had to come back, because you could see, like, he went back for that chug splash. Interesting rotation here for them, though, as we see Rogue Shark actually going to go down. I'm not sure how Zimmy was able to get them there, but that's a pretty big elim, because we're talking about how great they are at punishing players in a great spot like that. There's no real reason for them to go down, so I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that sort of played out and just sort of what that is. Rogue does get finished, and that is super unfortunate for those guys. I think where they were positioned would have just been easy to assume that those guys will be fine. There won't be an issue. There won't be a problem. Chap and Degen, I like this position. We saw a lot of teams just sort of chilling, hiding, and I think that makes sense, right? You want to try and get as deep in the game as possible. We know you continue to sort of accumulate placement points as the game goes on. And so if you can just sort of sit in a bush, hide in a little corner, hide in a maze like those guys are, and just allow the rest of the lobby to deal with itself, yeah, sure, why not? I back that movement.
I back it as well, and look at Crackley and Joe. They've got a tank up above, and they also have that rocket or Anvil rocket launcher to try to do some damage to these tanks, but you realize it doesn't really do as much as you want it to unless you're really chaining those shots together. You have to make sure you are, because if you're just shooting one here and there, it does 400, which is a good amount of damage in a single shot, right? Like, that's a lot of damage comparatively, but they really need to chain it together, because otherwise they're going to just be able to repair towards their vehicle. And wait a minute. What a shot that was. As well, Levin, they went ahead and hired Peely.
That is, I kid you not, that's not something we see often in like any form of competitive play, but here's something I actually have seen, right? So some nice strats here. Look, Peely would probably do a better job than me in these games, so if you can get that extra advantage, why not?
And it makes even more sense, because the reason you don't hire them in a normal competitive game is because Peely would try to pick extra builds, try to break through, and cause a lot of disruption. But there's no builds to go through. It's okay to have someone roaming around you.
I think it's a great strat, honestly. I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Black Wolf, who was doing incredibly well earlier, can't say the same right now, and these are how quickly the tables can turn in this mode. One moment you can go from looking like the most dominant team in the lobby, the next you are actually waiting in the lobby for the next game. And that could be the fate of this duo on our screens, or solo now on our screens. Oh dear, Blur antics. Blur, you gotta be careful, my friend. It's not looking too good for Blur. Yeah, Blur will go down. Joe and Crackly will sort him out. And they look like they want to deal with Heiser as well. He's a solo, and I don't know if that was the optimal play to get out. He clearly was worried about his tank combusting, which it seems like it will do now. But in the action of leaving the tank, his HP dwindles and eventually he will fall. The margins are so fine in these lobbies right now, Clay. It is not easy whatsoever. And this zone is making it such a difficult task for many of these teams to actually just get about and traverse this land.
And, you know, I thought I was good at using a tank in Fortnite, and then I'm watching this, and there's so many things that I'm seeing that I just didn't think about beforehand, and it's like, okay, wow, they're, like you said, they're so innovative, they're so creative, and I'm just shocked about how well these pros do use it, considering they didn't really get the chance to use it all that often before, unless they've actually practiced this game mode. As Deuce and Jamper sitting up above, getting some tags, as Zimmy looks to be getting pushed.
Yeah, Fretz has got to be careful. He might start getting pushed if he just keeps wandering out on his own like that. Cease, Vert, you guys all right? I don't think so. Cease will go down, Vert will escape with the Rift to go. I'm sure Cease will be wishing he would have popped that maybe a couple moments earlier. Oh, dearie me. The cow catchers come out, and it's an example of why they are so useful, right? That extra bit of cover, you can just sort of crouch behind them. They aren't foolproof, right? And so if you don't have your angles sorted out right, things don't look too great. And Shades will know a lot about that. Gets caught out in the open. Sis Lucky now on his own as a solo. Macquid and Fretz, though, not using cow catchers, just using the natural terrain of the bushes, and that's what I mean when it comes to cow catchers. Cow catchers are great, but if you haven't got the angle sorted out, you will fall just like that. People can sort of just see your head peeking over. These are professional players. They got their aim on point. They will hit the shots, so do not give them a chance to connect. And that's exactly what we're seeing happening all around the map right now.
Cowcatchers also block that tank rocket that you're seeing come through, as they're exchanging shots tank to tank as well. Meanwhile, Chap and Degen are just chilling, Lemon. They said, you know, and this is not actually something that we haven't seen from Chap. I remember back when he was playing with, I believe, Edgy for a while there, they would just sit in bushes and just wait for people to move by them. Then they would surprise attack and get their surge and go about their day.
Look, the way I deal with problems in life, if something's getting too hectic for me, I just stand as still as possible, and eventually they just won't be able to see me. I go invisible. And that seems to be the philosophy being applied here by Degen and Chap. Look, they're not bringing any attention to themselves, and so, you know, people, with all the action going on, Clay, people just sort of forget they're there, you know what I mean? These guys are literally just sitting AFK almost, but it's working to a charm, and you're seeing just people taking each other out. The feed is going off right now. People just going down endlessly. Fretz and Macquid have done a brilliant job, and now that they've practically cleared out the whole lobby, they finally set their eyes on Degen and Chap, and so the Rift to go will come out as their vehicle combusts. They will be taken out into the sky, and they will have to glide down. Chap actually will not survive the trip to the sky. He will fall, and so Degen now all alone. What can he do in this situation? Fretz and Macquid, they've just made this such a difficult lobby for anybody to have a breath of fresh air in. They will continue to hit shots. His Lucky will fall. These guys are on a tear. It is nice to see, but Crackly and Joe really have been special in this lobby. They have 8 eliminations, and they're looking to try and make that 10. Macquid will fall, and Fretz surely will be joining him soon, right? These guys just haven't skipped a beat one bit, Clay. Fretz is trying everything he can, but it's not going to be enough. Macquid and Fretz will fall.
10 eliminations for Joe and Crackley. What a game from them. Wait, hold on. Wait a minute. Called it a little bit too early. There was still someone out in the zone in the middle of the water.